be aware that the information that you're about to hear is subject to change. Please subscribe to my YouTube page for the most current and accurate information. Thank you. Hi, my name is Marissa, and I'm a real estate agent with Century 21 Mission in Oceanside, California. So what is a bank foreclosure? There are so many of you out there that don't quite understand what a repo, bank foreclosure, REO, bank REO, which by the way are all one and the same, just different ways of saying it. What is a bank-owned asset? I'm going to try to break it down as elementary as I can. Foreclosure is a process through which the lender can take possession of a home. Bank foreclosures are those where the homeowners have failed to make the necessary payments, or if they've defaulted on their loan, on their mortgage loan. In a way, it is a termination of the homeowner's rights on the property or home as covered under the mortgage. To make a foreclosure happen, a lender has to first file a public default notice, also known as lis pendens or a notice of default, which is the most popular term. There are three ways through which the foreclosure can end. Number one, if the homeowner or borrower is able to reinstate the loan during the grace period, as instructed by the state laws or courts. And in this grace period, or pre-foreclosure period, if the homeowner pays off the defaulted amount, then the property will not go into foreclosure. So in this first case that I pointed out, if the homeowner is able to bring the loan current, foreclosure is avoided, which is a great way to stop the foreclosure. But that is very difficult because that would entail you paying the lender all of the payments that are in default, all of the interest charges, all of the fees, and whatever, administrative fees they've accrued to serve you the paperwork to tell you that you've defaulted on the loan. So it's ridiculously expensive. The second way that a foreclosure can end is if the homeowner or borrower sells the property to another buyer during the pre-foreclosure period and pays off the loan. If he or she pays off the loan, then their credit history will not show foreclosure. The third way is the lender does take possession of the home to resell it through an auction. The lender will get ownership of the property through a mutually signed agreement with the homeowner during the pre-foreclosure period. And those are sometimes called deed in lieu. That's basically when the homeowner hands the keys over and says, here, take the home, it's yours, and it's basically a handshake deal versus forcing the homeowner out with a sheriff and a vacate notice. So there are very many different ways that a bank can choose to proceed with an owner who's in pre-foreclosure, as you can see. It doesn't always have to end in the sheriff's chasing you and moving you out of your house. There are so many options now to avoid foreclosures. Foreclosures used to be a great investment deal because what would happen is the banks would take these homes and then they would sell them as is, where is, as soon as they got them, or as close to when they were able to repossess them as possible, and sell them at 20% under market. Now that's a thing of the past. The banks are now taking longer to foreclose on these properties, and what they're doing is transferring these assets, they call them, to asset management companies who are taking these homes, stripping them, painting them, putting carpet in, rehabbing them basically. And a lot of these repos or bank-owned assets are selling at market value. So the deal is just not that great anymore. And again, I can't speak for all the repossessions that are going on in the marketplace, But I will tell you this. In North San Diego County, it is my experience that the asset managers are getting most of the bank's inventory. And because that's happening, the deals for the investors are less and less. There is another way to buy a bank-owned asset or repo, and that would be on the courthouse steps. That is a little more complicated and requires savvy know-how and due diligence. These homes have to be published in local newspapers. Well, let me back up. The foreclosure has to be published. The notice of trustees sale has to be published in the paper and in local advertisements. And so once you are able to see that a trustee sale is happening, it gives you the address of the home. You show up to the courthouse steps, and you basically have to have a suitcase of cash, for lack of better terms, because they're not going to accept financing. And you have to be ready to write the deal right then and right there. No due diligence, no title checks, no appraisal checks, no contingencies. It's just basically you exchange the cash for the title and you walk away. And that's very risky because you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know what is owed against that property. And you're buying that home with every lien that's recorded. So let's assume that there are other issues such as back-owed taxes, back-owed homeowners associations. You know, there's a list of things that could be attached to the property. Those will be your responsibility. So those are risky, and not a lot of people do buy those homes up, on the courthouse steps because of this. I don't recommend it, and would suggest that if you are looking into this option, you consult with an expert in your market to make sure that the value is there, and maybe do a preliminary title search to make sure that there aren't any surprises when you buy this home. The question of the day is, what is a better deal, a short sale or a foreclosure? And I'm going to tell you that the jury's out. A short sale is going to take longer, but in my humble opinion, is a far better deal. On a repo, or bank-owned repo, whatever terminology you want to use for it, the banks have already taken the home. They've already sent it to an asset management company who has already rehabbed it in most cases. And they want to sell at market value, or believe it or not, above market value. That is why the banks are holding on to their inventory, because they know that if they flooded the market right now with all of the assets, all of those homes, the market would fall and the values would drop significantly. So they're basically spoon feeding our market and putting a repo here, a repo there, a repo here. That way our values aren't affected. So again, in my humble opinion, I do believe if you can wait and if you have the time, a short sale will probably get you the better deal. If you're in a hurry and you have a time frame that you need to meet, then a bank repo might just be the ticket. These two options are probably the most popular right now, since traditional sales are pretty much becoming a thing of the past. For more information, or for any questions you may have, please feel free to contact me by scanning the barcode or reaching me on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, and make it a great day.